Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. We have Michèle Hecken for a second round here. Michèle is CEO and founder at Michèle Hecken Executive Advisory. She's an ex-CEO of Founder, the art of offboarding, advisor to high-performing leaders, also a global keynote speaker and a best-selling author and fine artist. We've talked about that last time. It was quite interesting. So this podcast is presented to you by podpire.com. If you want to start your own podcast, scale it, monetize it, you can go to podpire.com. We have a free ebook to download there on how to scale your 2025 AI podcast. And we also have a masterclass if you want to accelerate your podcast learning. Michèle, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Well, hi, Charles. First of all, thanks for having me as a repeat guest on your podcast. We had a great first session and love talking to you. So I'm grateful to be back. Lots of new things have happened since we last spoke. I have finished my book, The Art of Offboarding: How to Build Your Business to Run Without You, which will be published in Q1 2025. So we're just in the last editing stages. I've also launched a mastermind program for entrepreneurs who want to work less and scale faster, which is called the Art of Offboarding Mastermind, that teaches entrepreneurs how to build a business that runs without them. And I'm working on one of my first art shows, so lots is happening.
Right.
And I'm a
Okay.
nana now.
Banana, nice, congrats. Yeah, that a lot of people have became that as of late after COVID. So, okay, let's start with the art of offboarding. I'm a lot into AI agents nowadays, and as you know, we have talked about that in the last, but I think it was 2 to 3 years ago. I scaled from 200 employees to zero. Pure AI are running the show in my companies nowadays, and it's never been better. It's never been greater for all levels, right? Profits, time, revenue scaling, and all of that. So, do you feel that AI agents can replace most employees nowadays, or it's still something we'll have to wait a bit before it happens?
I'm a huge advocate and user of AI also in my business. So it's a tough question. I believe that a lot of things can be easily replaced by AI. So when I help leaders offboard themselves from their business, freeing up time for growth and scaling, what we look at is what's on your plate, what responsibilities do you own, and what's the value to the business, and which of them energize you. And that's true. We scale that through the entire company, all project teams. And so one of the things we've been doing now is to look at, whatever gets offboarded either can be distributed to the team, or it can be, a new job description. And with AI, we've been using it a lot to say, okay, let's first of all see what can be replaced through AI instead of hiring somebody. And then, of course, hiring exactly the right talent that can do those things that AI maybe can't do, or need a really smart person to prompt properly and implement properly. So I think it definitely is the way of the future, Charles.
Right. Then the peer groups. I've tried to make my own mastermind happen in the last 3 years. I say tried because never really monetized it, and probably 5% of my groups are really successful, meaning that people show up on time, they have great insights, they're of great value, and are potentially paying for that. So, why do you want to start your peer group? So, what's your thesis behind that, and what do you expect from that new business of yours?
That's a great question. So I do one-on-one coaching with high-performing entrepreneurs. Obviously, I only have so much time to do that with. Because I just, there's only one me, and I'm very selective of who I want to coach one on one. And then what I did is I built an online course to bring the learning to a greater audience. And that was fantastic. I feel like it's shifted a little bit now in the marketplace. Courses are almost becoming like something bad because there's so many course creators out there that are just putting out bad courses that don't really have the value for a lot of money. So the marketplace is becoming more difficult for sure. But the biggest reason I shifted to a peer group from just a straight course is the implementation support. From what I've learned from running the course and talking to my private coaching clients, I can give somebody all the tools. It's in the implementation, that ongoing support, where it really comes together. So that was for me why I switched the model, because for a smaller investment, clients will get more value and more support through the process.
Right. And some of my thesis behind the mastermind, it was like the next step in the lead gen funnel. So I start with a podcast, then I put them in the right CEO peer group, then sort of nurture the relationship. And at some point, about 20% of these peer group members I run on the free model, they become paid clients for me with my high ticket services. So when you talk about it being more affordable, what would be the price tag to your peer group? Because I was bullish on the free model, not the paid one so much. And then like, yeah, what precisely would be the value here? Is it one meeting per month, one meeting a week? Would there also be like physical meetings in there?
Yes. So very great questions. I'll start with the last one. So um, it's one meeting a week where I show up every single week for an hour, 90 minutes, to answer questions, to help give implementation support, to support the community, to really have more of a hands-on approach in addition to the learning that I make available in my peer group. And I'm doing it. It's funny because when you learn about how to do all of these things, masterminds and peer groups and webinars, a lot of the thought process is create the free group first and then kind of bring people from the free group into your paid program, which is fantastic. But it takes a long time. And what I don't love about it is that while you're providing value, it feels like you're still keeping, or for me, it felt like would still be keeping people lingering. So I want to provide the real value from the get-go. I will build then the free community around it. So I kind of flipped the model on its head. And the reason I did that is there's so many entrepreneurs. I've been an EO member now for 18 years. I know hundreds of entrepreneurs who are working 60, 80 hours a week, and they just can't seem to get out. But my course sold for 15K, which was absolute value. I mean, if they just get 10 hours a week back every week, that's 500 hours a year. That's easy math. But the implementation is like, a lot of people who bought the course ended up still wanting to hire me one-on-one to help them through it. And I'm only one person. So I can either hire a bunch of coaches, or I can give people access to me because I'm the one who has done it, and scale with more coaches later. So the mastermind, the community, I'm launching it at $4.99 a month. It will later be $9.99 a month. So I'm doing a special launch promo, and people can stay. They can do it in 3 months, or in 6 months, and stay for the implementation support, because that's where the real value is, because you're not just going to do this once, and you can't offboard responsibilities all at once either, because it's too disruptive for the company. So it's an ongoing process.
Right. That was my price tag as well for level96.com, which was my mastermind. How will you be precisely targeting and filtering these guests? Because me, what I had playing for me with that business is the outreach machine that I have, right? Being really good at cold email, LinkedIn, then converting some of these folks into the podcast, then from the podcast inviting them automatically through my mastermind. So what's your strategy to scale and invite as many quality members as possible here?
Well, we have a couple of different strategies. One, obviously, the traditional ad strategy to support our organic efforts. So we are going to be running ads for this, but that's just a small part. The biggest part is going to be the organic effort, the organic network. So I just had an article published in Inc. magazine. And so we're using some of those assets. We're doing a big free masterclass launch on January 30th. Which is going to be professionally produced, not just, a boring Zoom meeting. It's going to be more of an event, bringing people into that community. And then whoever wants to sign up from that community can then get, that discounted rate, because we're just launching this year. And of course, through my network. I do a lot of speaking as well, so kind of promoting it from there. I'm lucky. I've been in business for over 30 years, so I do have a big network, and I do know a lot of people who need my service. And I'm actually very excited to be able to offer it at a price point that is not so much money up front, but people can just gradually see the benefits right away and save money and time as they go along.
Right. And filtering people with financial accountability is a big one, right? Like I've talked about using the free model. Sometimes that doesn't work because broke people usually don't have much brains and hearts, right? Like that's why they're not willing to pay for things. So
Right.
that one's is a big one. But still, how are you filtering these people and making sure that they'll play well amongst a circle of other CEOs? Because sometimes the chemistry is just not there.
Absolutely. So we do have a pre-qualifying questionnaire. So it's not just you sign up and you're automatically accepted, because I want to make sure that the quality of members is there. Typically, I work with companies $1 million and up. So more of the 5, 10, 20 million. I do have bigger companies that I work for, but they're going to be one-on-one consulting and advisory engagements. So if I have startups, I will typically volunteer a lot of time just on the side because I want to help startups, but they're not going to be that valuable in the program because they don't have a team to offboard. It's just they're not quite there yet. They're often still onboarding and growing. So the threshold would be $1 million in revenue to qualify to be in the program. And another comment, you're very right. The free programs, like my program is work. It's easy, but it's not simple. And people actually have to do the work. And if you put something like that out for free, they're not going to do the work. So then I'm wasting their time, even if they just spend an hour or two with me. The time is the most valuable thing we have. I mean, I help people save time. I don't want to waste time. So in a free program, are you really going to be committed to do the work to get you the results that you want?
Right. I like that. Okay. Then the accountability and insights part, like how do you make sure that every member actually adds insights to the group, and that they add motivation, right? Because most of the time these groups are about these two things, insights and motivation. So do you have like a monthly evaluation form that you send them and ask them like, hey, did you think that this guy pulled his weight? How do you manage that?
Ah, very good point. That's an aspect that I'm actually not focusing that much on right now, for a reason. So everybody's different, right? We've all been in masterminds, we've all been in groups together. There are some people who put their hand up every single time, and you kind of have to try and manage that differently. And there are some people who will never ask a question, but they show up and they learn from other people's questions, from my answers that I give. So when I'm saying the community, I'm really looking at providing the value, and the sessions that we have every week are specifically for people to ask questions. Oh, I've implemented this. I'm stuck here. How do I overcome this? Or I'm feeling really guilty about doing this and not being in the office, or whatever questions they have. I'm there to service them through learning and implementing the process. So whether the group really communicates with each other at this point is not that relevant to me. What's more relevant to me is that the people in the group are kind of at the same level, so that the questions that come in are not a snooze fest for some and way out of somebody else's league.
Right. Do you think of introducing an AI note taker to send the insights to each group member and or contribute and moderate these masterminds?
Absolutely. We use AI for that. We also use AI. We measure the results. So on average, when I've worked with clients, either through the actual course or one-on-one, we track how much time they've actually saved. And that's a prime AI functionality where people will then report, okay, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And we can track through the program on everybody's in everybody's workbook to see how far are they and how many hours have they offboarded. So not only are we tracking this individually, but also cumulatively. And so on average, my clients go from 60 to 30 hours a week. Some go to 20, depending on what their goals are. Some 40, but that's where they want to be. So it just depends. So we set the goals and then we track that data and we share that data within the group and, of course, with the individual people confidentially.
Right. So, okay, the physical side of these masterminds, are you bullish on it? Because post-COVID, I feel everyone wants to meet physically and have that human connections. If I felt that the online part, that physical part is even worse. It's been really hard for me to organize these masterminds physically. Did once, was somewhat of a success, right? But are you bullish on that as well? Will you make it happen physically? What would be the difference between these sessions and the online ones?
You mean like setting up my own live event in
Yeah,
person?
like the
Yes.
masterminds, but instead of a Zoom room, well, you rent a room somewhere and you make it live,
Yeah.
like EO type
Yeah.
of or events. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I need to remember while I am a crazy entrepreneur, I am reminding myself that I'm building the car while I'm driving it. And if I go too fast, it's all going to fall apart. That definitely is my vision to create events. One event I have in mind that maybe will happen 2026, not 2025, is to do a yacht experience in Croatia on a smaller yacht, and the title would be On Board to Off Board. And I teach people live in a week, on in a beautiful scenery with, fun things to do as well. That kind of ties into curating that openness to have that freedom and to feel what it's like when your business does run without you. So that's kind of my dream event that I would like to do. But I'm just gathering more data right now so that when I do a real in-person event, because they're expensive, it's a lot of risk. You really want to have a full room and you want to be fully clear and have data and have the proper entertainment value as well. But yes, I do have that on my radar. My dream one would be the boat in Croatia, on board to off board.
Love it. How's been your art life progressing in parallel to, yeah, somewhat recently exiting the business and all the changes that have been happening end of 2024?
It's a great question. How's my art been doing? Well, not as I haven't created as much art as I had set out to. But I also didn't realize how much creative energy it would take to kind of build everything that I'm doing right now and to finish the book and to build a program and really think about how do I actually teach this, right? Because it's one thing to give somebody the tools, but you need to break it down in a certain way that is understandable but not boring. So that took a lot of creative energy. And I found myself at the end of the day just not having any juice left creatively to actually transform that into art. So I took a bit of a hiatus, not officially. However, I'm back at it, and I've also started sculpting now, and I love sculpting. I'm talking to a few other entrepreneurs, and in the art scene, and looking. I'd like to do like an exhibition of joint work, but with the topic of diversity and integration. So I have this bust of this beautiful woman, um, and she has short hair. She's quite androgynous, and my vision is to create a display where different artists paint her differently and have it as an installation to show it's the same person. It's how they dress, how we view them, in which environment they are, that we pass judgment. So more of a societal art project, if you will.
Yeah, I like that. Which one of your paradigms have shifted recently and why?
Uh, there's been a lot of shifts in 2024. I've definitely put a lot of energy into expanding my consciousness and raising my consciousness to a different level of vibration. So studying Joe Dispenza, Neville Goddard, all of these amazing people. So definitely a lot of paradigm shifts and understanding the role of the ego, and how I can be a better leader, how I can be a better coach, how I can be a better partner, just by being more mindful and aware of how I live my life. So my big shift this year, and my word or phrase for this year, is be in my power. And because when we're in our power, we are invincible, really, right? Any challenge that comes at us. And there's been a lot of challenges in 2024. And I could see myself fall into that little bit of a victim mode. Like, not why is this happening to me, but it's like, oh my God, because I do always ask, what is this supposed to teach me? But sometimes it's just so much, and you're just like, oh, and just shifting from being in my power gives me the tools and the resilience to better deal with whatever life throws at me, and kind of swim that current better instead of resisting it.
Last question is a bit philosophical. So
Love it.
you're a lover of freedom. Do you feel that freedom is increasing or decreasing nowadays in the world?
Oh, um, my gut feel is to say that it is decreasing. Um, and at the same time, under the guise of an increase in freedom. I don't think we're actually increasing our freedom. I think it'll come again. When you have massive changes, the pendulum goes from here to here, and it goes to the extreme. And when it's on the extreme, it always feels like less freedom. Eventually, it'll pendle itself more to the middle again, and I think we'll have more freedom. If we just think about freedom of expression, I mean, I'm a s- la- I'm a Gen X, but an early Gen X, right? So some of the things that we just said naturally, my daughters will now correct me and say, "Mom, you can't say that anymore. It makes me feel really old." So initially, it feels like, oh, I have less freedom of speech. I can't just say what I want to say. So it feels impaired. But that needs to happen in society in order for all of us to have that awareness and change. Once we have that awareness, we'll feel free again, freer again with respect to what we can say, because we'll just naturally not say those things anymore. Does that make sense?
Yes, interesting perspective. Thanks for sharing it. Where can people find out more about you online, Michelle?
MichèleHecken.com, Michèle Hecken on LinkedIn. I'm on Insta under Hecken. And I believe there will be some kind of reach out from you if somebody wants to sign up or learn more about how to run their business without them and have it really serve their lives and scale faster. That's where you can find me.
That was Michèle Hecken.